I think shorts work well with interviews when you have a lot of content. So if you want to, if the guest or the host like drops a knowledge bomb that's quick and easy, sometimes that can work real quick as pulling it out. But if you're pulling from straight tutorials, it's tough because scripts, they're rarely written so that it'll fit nicely as a simple cut in a short.
Before we jump into today's episode, I'd like to give a quick shout out to the sponsor for this episode, Ahrefs. Ahrefs provides you with an all-in-one SEO toolset that does everything from rank tracking to backlink analysis, keyword research, and technical audits. The best part, you can now use Ahrefs Webmaster Tools for free to identify and prioritize optimization opportunities for your website, see all the keywords that your web pages are ranking for, take a close look at the websites that link back to and refer you in their content, and analyze other websites to find out what drives their rankings. Visit ahrefs.com/AWT and sign up for free. And now, back to today's episode. Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the SaaS SEO Show. I'm your host, George Kasiotis, and today I'm very happy and excited to be joined by Sam O, VP of Marketing at Ahrefs, an industry-leading SEO software provider. He has grown Ahrefs YouTube channel to one of the largest in their industry, leading to over 17 million views and tens of thousands of new users. Prior to his work at Ahrefs, Sam co-led a successful digital marketing agency and had 3 SEO-driven businesses acquired. It's great to have you here because, Ahrefs is also the sponsor of our podcast. So I think it's good to have someone from the Ahrefs team here with us. Sam, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
So even though I said a couple of things about, your background, can you share a few things about your journey and what has brought you to Ahrefs? And I would also like to know specifically about the businesses acquired that were SEO driven. What kind of businesses, they were, and how did you manage to get them acquired?
Sure. So I started, I think back in 2008 or 2009, and it was pretty much a fresh grad out of college. And I figured if I was going to do something stupid and fail, I'm going to do it now while I'm young, before I have any liabilities or anything like that. And so I started an service-based e-commerce site. And long story short, SEO is what fueled that business. And it was for a young 20-year-old something. I was making a very healthy income and I was on top of the world. And then I had that company acquired after I got hit by penguins. So I lost quite a bit of valuation. But regardless, that site got acquired, and I went into semi-retirement for like 8 months. And then I started to try different things. So outside of e-commerce, I went into, I got into niche sites. I had one of those acquired, or one that is worth mentioning acquired. I built Amazon and eBay businesses just to see that at that time, everyone was going crazy about marketplaces. And so I wanted to see, is there any validity to this? So I started off, I think, with like a $20,000 budget or something like that. And I started buying pallets of like return goods from big merchandise stores like Best Buy and Amazon and Walmart. And then I started to refurbish them. So I rented a warehouse, started a refurbishing center, and then I started selling at these places. Continued to build out different sites. So I got a lot of exposure to different types of sites. And then that naturally led to an agency. And that did pretty well. And I guess by this time, I think at that time of the agency, I was on child number 2. And I realized that I just don't want to live this lifestyle of just like hustle, where I'm working like 16-hour days. Anyone can call me at any time and I have to put out fires. And so I try to get Ahrefs as a client. And so I applied for a job with the intent to be like, hey, it's going to be better if we actually work as like a contractual freelance basis kind of thing. And then in the end, they ended up turning me into an employee. I realized that, a quote unquote 9-to-5 job is not what people made it sound like. And I gave up that own personal journey of running my own businesses and yeah, I've been very happy at Ahrefs since.
For people who have never heard of Ahrefs before, even though I assume that, if someone listens to this podcast, most likely they have heard of Ahrefs, and I guess they would also have an account. But, what Ahrefs is, who is the typical user, and who gets the most value?
Yeah, so Ahrefs is a software service provider of SEO and digital marketing tools. And in terms of like who our customers are, I hate saying it, but it's like everyone from, your large enterprise, like your Adobes and your Facebooks, all the way down to your mom and pop shops down the road. And basically anyone who can benefit from gaining visibility in search is going to get value from Ahrefs. It sounds so bad coming from a guy who works there, but it's just like, I feel like it's an indispensable tool. I felt that way before I joined. I was a paying customer for many years before. And yeah, so basically anyone who can gain visibility or who wants to gain visibility in search is going to benefit from our tools.
When this relationship with Ahrefs started, was it on the basis of video creation, or, video was one of the things that you did for them?
Yeah, so originally the job that I applied for, so for context, the reason why I applied for a job is because the intent of somebody posting a job is to hire someone, right? And the agency, as an agency, essentially you just want to get a client. And so if they're going to hire someone, why not just hire a client? You're going to show them exactly why it's cheaper, why it's better, and blah, 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 blah. So getting back to that thought. So I applied for a funnel hacker position. So that was basically like mostly related to lead generation and things like that. And so I was doing quite a lot of that work. And Tim and we had conversations for like 8 months, which was like a crazy long process. And eventually he decided that they don't want to hire for that position, but then they saw some videos that I had created before, and he's like, yeah, I think it'd be cool if you could make some like educational video content. We talked for like another few months, and then eventually we agreed, and that's kind of how it started, was with the intent to just create videos, and then over time that just evolved into more.
You pressed the publish button on Ahrefs YouTube channel for the first time over 5 years ago. What were the biggest learnings and realizations regarding what works in marketing from these 5 years at Ahrefs?
Yeah, so I think there's two things that I learned specifically from leading Ahrefs YouTube channel. First is product-led content marketing. I think it's actually the easiest way to do marketing. So product-led content marketing is basically just content that helps people solve a problem with the use of your product. And I think it's extremely underrated because, like I said before, I was an Ahrefs customer for 3 years. And so when I started creating these tutorials on like how to do keyword research, like I was literally just sharing what I was already doing with the tool. And so that goes to show you that A, you need to believe in your product. It has to actually be good. And if you do, and you actually use it in your regular day-to-day processes or whatever it is that you do that you're selling to your target audience, then it is like the most underrated marketing tactic. It's so simple and it's so impactful that it just works really well. The second thing is probably authenticity. And I think we all know that, and we hear it a lot, is that like authentic marketing, be genuine, whatever. But like truly, when I say that, throughout the videos, I've never felt like I had to sell anything to anyone. And so, yeah, like I think it really just goes to show you that like if you truly, like from the depths of your soul, truly believe in your product, like I felt like I would be doing a disservice by recommending a different route without using Ahrefs, because that's not the way that I would have done it. It's like I'm lying so that I can get ahead. And so being authentic and just being like, hey, this is what I would do. Like you use Site Explorer and you enter your domain here, you go to top pages and you set this filter and you get this really cool result. And it works pretty consistently across various niches. And I feel like just authentically saying that, people see it, and, rarely do we get messages where it's like, you're just trying to sell us your product. And there's always going to be those people, but yeah. And so I think authentic marketing, product-led content marketing are two big things that I've learned over the past 5 years.
To the first point though, product-led content marketing, do you feel that, what Ahrefs is doing both on YouTube and on, your blog, is it kind of a strategy that other companies can replicate. What I mean by that is the reason why I'm asking this question is because like very often companies come to us or even clients, let's do it like Ahrefs, right? Do you think that this can be applied in every company? And if we talk about like in the context of SaaS, for example, can it be applied in every SaaS company out there?
In SaaS, I think yes. In certain service-based businesses, maybe not. But I'll give you an example of both. So service-based business, recently I moved from Canada to the US, and naturally I need to get an immigration lawyer because I'm not going to do it myself. And so I'm looking through all these resources. I'm not familiar with all the legal jargon. And sure enough, in Google SERP, I come across a YouTube video. And I click the video and I watch it because it's like exactly titled to what I was looking for. And the guy just explains it so well. And finally, I'm like, oh man, after like reading for like days and weeks, I finally get it. And I binge this guy's content. He creates a whole series of like 12 videos. I spent like an hour and a half watching all of the stuff, taking notes and everything. So now I know what to do. And now I know what to look for in an immigration lawyer. And he is one of the first people that I considered hiring until I saw his reviews and stuff. But that was a separate issue there, right? Like had he had, positive reviews and everything, then I would have just gone straight to him, take my money and like fill out all the paperwork. But that is an example of service-based, right? Is that an immigration lawyer is not necessarily tied down to one specific locale. They might be for one country, but even still, a lot of immigration lawyers are able to do it for multiple countries. For SaaS, I feel like anyone can. Like with software, you create software to solve problems, right? And there's some kind of functionality to it. So what problems are you actually serving with that software? If you have a specific example, like I'm happy to try and think of some ideas for video, but like
for example, CRM top of mind, CRM
okay.
software.
Yeah, so like any sales related content, anything really, like even with outreach based content, right? Prospecting, basically anything that you would use that tool for, where it's an indispensable, where your tool is indispensable to actually successfully doing something. Then I feel like it's a possible topic for product-led content marketing because, yeah, like I feel like, for example, like in SEO, like how to do keyword research, you need a keyword research tool. Like, why wouldn't I mention our keyword research tool? Like, it would be weird if I didn't. And it's the same thing with the CRM. Like, I don't know that industry well enough to give very specific examples. But even case studies, they tend to work really well. Yeah, there's a lot of, with SaaS, I feel like every SaaS company can be doing product-led content marketing if they believe in their product.
Let me ask, why do you think is that B2B SaaS companies are not doing so, especially on the YouTube side of things, right? Because the blog is something that many companies are like handling very well, but on YouTube, you will not see many cases like Ahrefs, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I can only guess here, and from previous conversations that I have. So I think number one is a lot of people just don't know how, and like they don't realize, like a lot of people just go and they just republish whatever it is. Like they'll get a blog post and they'll literally just like read the blog post out loud, put it up on YouTube, and they're like, oh, it didn't work. Well, that's not exactly how YouTube works. It's not just about like I can't even call it repurposing. Repurposing is different. You repurpose for the platform, you repurpose for the people. You don't repurpose by doing what's convenient for you. And I feel like that's often missed out. Another thing is that I find that finding talent with expertise in your niche is much harder than finding writers, right? There's a lot of freelance writers out there. A lot of people are willing to do that kind of work, but not many people want to get in front of a camera, expose themselves, like literally, like you said in the beginning that you had watched a lot of my videos. I had no clue. There's no way for me to know, right? Is that you're exposed, like it's just you. And for us, we have millions of people every single year who have seen who I am, have heard my voice, may have disagreed with me, can hide behind any avatar and say whatever they want to me. And a lot of people fear that because they like for obvious reasons, right? And so I think that is a big reason why that happens. But yeah, going back to the idea of creating a video and not having immediate success with it. For some reason with video, it hits harder, I find. Like you write a blog post that doesn't work. You're like, okay, I'll try again. With video, oftentimes people just give up too early and they make a video, they put all their heart and effort into it and they think that it's amazing and it just doesn't work. But the thing is, videos, like consistency is important for videos. And it kind of reminds me of golf. I don't know if you play golf, but it's like a lot of things in games. It's like, you'll go through a stretch of like 5 bad holes and like you're just not hitting the shots that you want to hit and you're ready to give up. And then all of a sudden the next hole, you hit like an amazing shot. You hit another shot that's like 2 inches from the hole, you get a birdie and you feel like you've figured something out. And you're like, yeah, I'm ready to play this game. I'm ready to conquer the world. And then you have a bad hole again after that. But then because of that newfound motivation, you're willing to keep trying. And it's like the same thing for videos. You'll have some bad videos and then you'll have that one good video where it's like, let's say you're normally getting like 67 views to your videos. And then all of a sudden you have a video that gets 25,000 views and you're just like, man, I have figured this out. And then you try again, you're back to like 72 views. And you're like, oh, well, that's better than 67. You have this motivation again to go through it. And I feel like if people just didn't give up so easily and they just kind of gamified like creating videos, then it seems like it becomes like conquerable. And for us, yeah, it took a while for us to actually get real traction to our videos. And even now, like you don't always like my videos don't always turn out well. Sometimes the ones that I think will be the best end up being the worst. And so it's tough to predict, but yeah, I feel like you just have to keep going for the people that tried and gave up and try a different route if it didn't work.
Do you think that, going back to your point, which I think is very valid, as per my understanding, content creation, at least most content like formats that we do for the blog are semi or like commoditized at this point, while video is not. But do you think that video is something that companies can outsource, or is it something that you need to create a studio and you can start small, but you have to produce it in-house?
Yeah, so I think anything is outsourceable, but it's certain things naturally you lose quality. Sometimes you gain quality. In the case of video, it's hard for me to imagine outsourcing video, like completely outsourcing video to a third party or to an agency of some sort, and to be able to get the love and care that at least I would personally want to put into those videos. So I do think that it is better done in-house, but it really only works if you have like, I think if I'm thinking about people that I know that have done well in video, and every single person is just like, they're relentless. Like they just don't give up and they just want to figure out ways to improve if something, like they thrive off of failure. And so, yeah, I feel like if you have a strong leader within your company to be able to do that, then it's better to have it in-house. If you literally want to pass it off as a third party, like I don't really care if it succeeds, I just feel like we need to be doing this, sure, outsource it. But yeah, I don't think that's necessarily the best route for
One issue here though is that, okay, with content creation, let's say you get a blog post, right, which is like very important, right? And you can get like traffic from it and generate leads or demo requests or whatever the offering may be. And of course, like you can, in most cases, what happens is that agencies and freelancers, they ghostwrite. What I'm saying is that with video, like you can't do that. Like you can't outsource it end to end, right? As per my understanding, at least.
You can. Like I know a company that does it. I feel like you would not get the results that you would want. Like I personally would never outsource fully video, like from the ideation to the scripting to the recording to the editing to the, like you just can't do it at the level that you would want to, just unless you don't care that much about the way that it turns out. I'm not saying it'll be bad. I'm just saying, like, if you just don't really care about, like, you just trust, like, oh, they'll take care of it.
Yeah. Maybe in some cases, I think of a use case like you want a summary on like the top of a blog post that's in video format. Maybe you could outsource that, right?
I agree. Yeah.
You mentioned covers that do well in video. Do you have any examples specifically for SaaS? I mean, I have a couple ones like SlideBean,
Okay.
which are doing really well, and they have a very unique strategy there. Another one that I can think of is Lemlist. They did quite, a couple of interesting things lately with a kind of mini documentary. But do you have any other examples?
Yeah, so I agree with you on the first one, SlideBean. So I think that they've taken a very something that is has mass appeal to the B2B world. And so I think that they're doing a great job with that. Two others that come to mind, Learn with Shopify. Learn with Shopify is Shopify's like educational channel, and they have run their channel very similar to the way that we have done it from the beginning. But they've done it at a higher scale, I think. So they have more videos than us, and I think they get more monthly views than we do, but much broader topics. Another one, and this is probably one of my favorites. It's not that I even watch it, but I just like what they've done in terms of strategy, is Adobe Creative Cloud. So yeah, their videos they're not interesting to me because I'm not interested in design or anything like that. But all of their content, and this, I feel like it can only work because they have so many customers, right? Like everyone uses Photoshop. Like even the people who aren't paying for it, like have some like old cracked version of Photoshop, and everyone knows what it is. Like everyone knows what it does. And so when you watch these like videos of them doing workshops, like Adobe After Effects and like removing someone or creating, like working with a green screen, like all these things that like this whole creator economy is interested in, it's naturally bringing people into their ecosystem. And I feel like they don't really have that many competitors, despite the fact that there are, like in video, like outside of Adobe's, like, Adobe Premiere Pro, Adobe After Effects, there's tools like Final Cut Pro, like which is only for Mac. Sony, there's a Sony one too. I don't know if that even exists anymore, but nobody talks about them really because Adobe is just taken over. And in terms of video on Creative Cloud, they've scaled it like crazy. And I don't know the way that they do it, but I'm guessing a lot of it is just UGC. And they have these like little workshops that teach people how to use their products better. And there's just so much mass appeal and interest in their products because everyone uses it. So I think that they're doing it really, really well.
Another example I can think of is Paddle Studios. They announced Paddle Studios, I don't know, a month ago or a couple of months ago, which is basically the integration of Profitwell's media arm into Paddle. And they have, like, even from the beginning, you can see that's like several of the videos that they've been publishing are quite interesting, right? So they break down pricing strategies and so on and so forth. So this is something that I found very interesting regarding video. Do you feel that there is something beyond that, something that like Ahrefs may be missing right now in terms of video? And like going back to the Paddle Studios / Profitwell example I shared, Profitwell used to have, I don't know, like 2 or 3 different series of, one of them was like they were breaking down pricing strategies, right? Like a show or of that sort. You recently started doing some more things in the community with This Never Happened, which is kind of a video-based like content play. But do you think there is more out there instead of just creating product-led focused like videos on YouTube?
Yes, absolutely. I feel like we haven't quite cracked the nut there yet. It's something that we've explored. Even some of our topics that are kind of leaning towards like a halfway between opinion editorial kind of content and tutorial. So for example, I made a video called something like "Will AI Tools End SEO?" or something like that. And this is at the time when everyone on Twitter was like, "Haha, SEOs, you're going to lose your job tomorrow." And when I saw that, I was just like, this fear mongering that we see a lot on social media. It's like, I'm not the type to usually put out predictions or like opinions like that are away from facts. But I was like, let's try it and see what happens. And overall, like, those videos perform pretty well. Like, I think one of the ChatGPT use cases video that I published has like, I don't know, 120, 300, I don't know, something, several hundreds of thousands of views. That Will AI Tools Kill SEO, I think that had like 32,000 views or something in like 3 weeks, which is a lot for our channel. And there's still like minor exposure to our tools. Like, what Ahrefs does if you watch that video. Yeah, so I'm not sure. Like, I feel like we just need to explore and just kind of try different things. And we have some things that are planned. But I also feel like there's that element of business value of where is your time best spent? So is my time best spent creating another keyword research tutorial or reaching a mass audience that may not even be interested in our product?
Have you tried YouTube Shorts? I saw an interesting case, an interesting sort by Omniscient yesterday as we were doing research for the episode we have with their director of content and creative. And I mean, it's a different approach, but have you done anything with Shorts, or like, do you plan to do anything with Shorts?
Yeah, so we plan to. In terms of the execution, it's tricky. There's a lot of thoughts that I've been thinking about this, like, since Shorts came out, or since TikTok, basically. I've been thinking about the short form videos. I have never once contemplated whether I should dance to anything there, nothing like that. And, the thought of creating bite-sized, like, SEO tip number 1, do this. I have mixed feelings about that. And so at this point, I've passed the project on to somebody else within our video team that I think will do a better job than I can. And I just said, hey, let's just try it and see what happens. And so we'll see when that comes. I think Shorts work well with interviews when you have a lot of content. So if you want to, if the guest or the host like drops a knowledge bomb that's quick and easy, sometimes that can work real quick as pulling it out. But if you're pulling from straight tutorials, it's tough because scripts, they're rarely written so that it'll fit nicely as a simple cut in a short, right? And so basically, like, the people that I know who are doing Shorts well, they actually have Shorts recording days. So they'll go and they'll record for 3 hours and they'll just record Shorts like all day. And the content is specifically created for Shorts. And I feel like that does better because you cut through a lot of the fluff and the noise and you just get straight to the point of what people want.
That's a very good point. And we may do a sort, based on that knowledge bomb. Can I ask you regarding, I guess, taking a step back, I would like to ask about the strategy and how you approach video strategy at Ahrefs. I mean, what do you decide what will, get in the calendar? In some cases, I understand that you have to talk about trends and events like ChatGPT and AI and so on. But in general, is it that you follow the lead of the blog, you do your own stuff, or there is some overlap and like we have to create a video for some of the blog posts? Talk us a bit about your strategy.
Yeah, so the blog and YouTube channel are completely separate. We're not connected in any way whatsoever. Well, other than the fact that it's the same company, but like, it's not like, oh, like, because you created this blog post, I have to make a complimentary video. Like, we don't do that at all. Our strategy has changed a lot, and it's just evolved a lot based on where we were and where we are today. So in the beginning, a lot of that was keyword focused, product led content, how to do keyword research, how to do broken link building, whatever it is. All these SEO topics, we needed to make sure that they're covered and that we're actually ranking. And we are ranking. Like, it's tough to be in the SEO industry, search for something in SEO, whether you're looking in Google or YouTube, and to not see my face there somewhere. So we've mission accomplished. And through that, we build a natural trend of traffic because like YouTube search, I guess it's this way for people watching. But yeah, so like we naturally build consistent traffic. And because the videos are, like we'll call them good enough, it earns subscribers. I can't remember what the exact percentage was, but we earn like a decent percentage of new viewers who watch our videos subscribe to our channel. And so that continues to happen, and it's slow. And people always say to avoid YouTube, like YouTube SEO, because it's just slow. You need to go for like, clickbaity suggested stuff. But at least for SaaS, from my experience, I would recommend time and time again is cover all the search stuff. Be everywhere when these people are searching for it. And when they're searching for it, they're more likely to convert anyway, right? Because they have the intent is very clear. So that was the beginning. We went search traffic and we went like this, and until the point, like if you look at our YouTube search traffic, like organic search, it's just like this now. It's just flat because we've already covered everything and we barely cover anything else, and we rank for everything more or less. Now that we have 400,000 plus subscribers, which doesn't really mean that much in the end of things, but we have 400,000 people who have said like, yes, I'm interested in to know more like SEO content from you. The strategy is a little bit different in the sense that it's more interest-based. So rather than like targeting how to do keyword research again, even if it was the exact same tutorial, the way that I approach the title would be very different, and the way that I approach the scripting would be very different. It would be based more on interest. So based on a very specific problem in keyword research, for example. Like we don't do clickbait, and if we did, yeah, we'd probably get a lot more views, but yeah, we don't do that. But now in terms of what makes it into the calendar, a lot of it is just common sense, and it's just like, I guess I'm spoiled in that sense that now I can just look at it and be like, yeah, I don't really like the topic. I don't really have an interesting angle to go with this one. I'm just repeating myself. I don't want to do that. Or if I'm like, hey, like I'm going to throw this opinion and now I have a voice because people will be interested to listen to what we as a brand have to say. Then yeah, like oftentimes if it's something new, we'll put it out at the same time. If there's like, we just published a video on winning featured snippets. Nothing revolutionary there, but we hadn't covered it before, and now it's covered. And so, yeah, a lot of it just comes down to feel at this point. But in the beginning, a lot of it was like, have we covered this topic? Because we should be.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you did what you have to do to like get this traffic and get subscribers. And now that you have the audience, as I see it, you can broadcast, right? Like you can publish things that may not necessarily be tied back to it, like search volume or like keyword or anything like that. One thing I would like to discuss though is, how do you see what you do in terms of video change? In like, you're doing this for 5 years now, more or less. How do you see video marketing at Ahrefs change in the next 5 years?
Yeah, so hopefully we're going to figure out different formats that are going to resonate with our audience. And I think I already know the general direction of it. But yeah, I guess you'll probably see more series from us in whatever that shape or form that takes. We'll still cover tutorials. That's like our bread and butter. Like it works well and people enjoy them. People get value from them, and it drives customers, helps with retention, I would assume. Because people are watching them, they're learning how to use our tools. But I can see maybe, I guess, infotainment, I guess. You might see a little bit of that. I'm not much of an entertainer. I'm not that interesting. But yeah, hopefully we'll be able to create some series that'll be interesting for the general audience, whether they learn from us, whether they learn from guests, or whatever that looks like.
Can I ask you regarding localization? The other day we did a webinar with Superpath, and I used Ahrefs YouTube channel and blog, of course, as a great example when it comes to localization. And you have dedicated channels for some like languages / like audiences. For example, you have one for where the content is in German, in Russian, and in a couple other languages, Japanese, I think, and so on. Can you speak a bit about that? I mean, what was the reasoning behind creating dedicated channels? and what does the process of localization look like, and of course whether or not it's worth the investment and like time and energy spent into localizing these videos.
So this kind of touches on the topic of outsourcing that you mentioned before. And so I'll explain how things went. So I don't remember exactly how it started. I think it was actually Tim's idea to dub the content. And we had somebody who was managing multiple different translators. So we needed a translator to translate the content into whatever language. And then we needed voiceover artists to be able to do that. And then I think we hired different agencies, different freelancers. Like we went through a lot of different things. And so the main purpose of it was for accessibility. Is naturally not everyone in the world speaks or understands English, but there's still a lot of people still doing Google SEO. And so we thought that it's low effort because it doesn't require any of our internal resources. So now we're outsourcing. And yeah, there's just like huge markets, especially in Spanish speaking countries. Like Latin America, there's Spain, there's others, like tons of people who speak Spanish all around the world. And certain untapped markets as well, or what we thought might be untapped markets. But we did not get the traction that we wanted. And I think it's partially because it's like the idea of publish and pray. Like we've all heard that before. When you just hit the publish button, because you translated it doesn't mean you're going to get a whole bunch of traffic to it. You still need to promote it, and you still need to actually care about what you're actually publishing so that you actually want to promote it. And so I feel like because we outsourced it, nobody really cared that much about the success of those channels. And so, if a translator left or something, it's just kind of like, oh, okay, yeah, we'll deal with that later. Not important now. We got to work on this first. And because nobody was really owned that channel properly, we didn't see great success. Although, it's not like we had awful success or anything like that, but like the translations were fine, but like localization was not perfect. Like, for example, if we did it in Spanish, we weren't translating currencies, for example. If we wanted to do that, our screenshots were all still in English. Our screencasts were all still in English. Like nothing was, like it was a haphazard job that we did. And so, yeah, it didn't succeed, wasn't a top priority. And so we actually abandoned those channels.
You spoke in the beginning about, like getting exposed and like getting your face and yourself out there. Do you ever get negative attacks, and how do you deal with those like negative comments and so on?
Negative comments, definitely. Like there's always going to be those people. I like to think that I have pretty thick skin. And so for me, I don't think there's ever been a comment where like I feel like it really impacted me personally. Like most of the negative comments are like, you're just trying to sell stuff, like, oh, that was a 13-minute tutorial. That was a 13-minute sales pitch. And I'm like, thanks. Like, cool. Like, I don't care. Like, you didn't have to watch for 13 minutes, but I appreciate it. But yeah, I don't feel a need to prove myself to anyone or to respond to them. And I don't read all the comments anymore. Like we're at a stage now where we get enough comments that I can't keep up with everything. And so we have people that go in and regularly respond to these people who are not attached to the content because they're not creating it, they're not editing it, but they're going strictly for comments. And so, yeah, I don't really have to deal with stuff. There were some that were like objectively like very rude. I don't care. Like they can say whatever they want. It doesn't impact who I am.
That's right. Second to last question I have for you. Google recently announced major changes in search with the introduction of SGE, Search Generative Experience. And of course, you mentioned earlier there was a time when, and I don't know if that was before the announcements or after, but there was a time on Twitter or LinkedIn or whatever where everyone was kind of hoping that the world will not end tomorrow, for SEOs at least. My question is, are you concerned about the impact of these changes on what Ahrefs and as an extension, the search industry does?
Not really. I'm curious. It is disruptive technology. Like, nobody can deny that large language models or like artificial intelligence today is like absolutely game changing. Like, nobody can deny that. But the way that I see it is that these AI models, they need content to be trained on, right? Somebody has to provide that training material, and naturally search is going to change. Like, the same thing happened when people talked about voice search. The same thing happened when people talked about featured snippets, saying, oh, like Google's just stealing all your traffic. But like, naturally, what happened? Voice search was like a big nothing burger. And then with featured snippets, SEOs just started optimizing for them. So what's going to happen now? We're probably going to start optimizing for conversational like searches, and nobody knows really what's going to happen. So I don't see a point in worrying or overreacting at this point, or, you know, like thinking like, oh, like, can I become a carpenter now? Like, you know, I'm not going to go that far. It's literally just like, all right, this is interesting. So I'm very curious to see what happens. And naturally, as a search software, like, we want to be able to provide the data that people need. And so we'll see what that looks like as these changes are implemented. It's still in beta, so I don't think, there's anything to worry about at this point.
And I think that's a great way to wrap things up. Last question I have for you: where can people find out more and get in touch with you if they'd like to?
Twitter, Sam SGO, and on YouTube, you can just search for Ahrefs.
That's great. Sam, this was very insightful. Thank you very much for getting on this call and doing this knowing how busy you are.
Thank you for having me.
Before you go, I'd like to give a quick shout out to the sponsor for this episode, Ahrefs. Ahrefs provides you with an all-in-one SEO toolset that does everything from rank tracking to backlink analysis, keyword research, and technical audits. The best part: you can now use Ahrefs Webmaster Tools for free to identify and prioritize optimization opportunities for your website, see all the keywords that your web pages are ranking for, take a close look at the websites that link back to and refer you in their content, and analyze other websites to find out what drives their rankings. Visit ahrefs.com/AWT and sign up for free.